So here we are then, Tom. No football today. There's no excitement of West Ham playing this weekend, which is a bit of a shame. But I actually don't think it's a bad thing. You know, considering the injury situation we're currently experiencing, it's probably not a bad thing to have a bit of a breather. Get the players working on the old training ground as well with Graham Potter. You're back and you're looking well, Tom. You know what I mean? The red eyes, they're gone. It's kind of annoying because that was your gimmick. That was your thing. I think you're going to have to just sort of whack some makeup on now for every
Yeah,
episode. Yeah. You're looking like a
yeah.
healthy human being at the moment.
I'm feeling a little bit better, thank you. So it's good to be back on. But yeah, I can organise some red eyes if that keeps people happy. I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, it does, mate. You got to give the crowd what they want, mate. If they want the pink eye back, pink eye Tom's coming back. That's what we got to give them. I'm afraid that's just unfortunate. That's unfortunately the world you've signed up to now.
Yeah,
that's it. So, as we've got no football to talk about in the sense of West Ham playing this weekend, we want to talk about the striker situation. West Ham are being linked, even though we've just brought in striker in Evan Ferguson, of course, on loan for the rest of the season. We are still busy. West Ham aren't sitting back. We're not just going, okay, we're going to wait and see what happens with Ferguson and not explore other avenues. It appears that we are also looking elsewhere for this summer coming up. And, mate, this is West Ham and strikers, Tom. I mean, can you please give your view of what on earth this club, why we cannot seem to get the striker situation right at West Ham? I mean, I've never known a football club. I mean, how many strikers we've gone through now? About 60, maybe more, and we still can't get it right. It's pretty remarkable, isn't it?
It's unbelievable, really. I mean, it's the sort of byproduct of the way we've looked at strikers. I think when David Sullivan was in charge of transfers, he often looked at goal record, didn't he? He seemed to be fascinated with goals record, and if a player had scored 20 goals in the Eredivisie or the French second division, that was the man. And we know that doesn't always translate to the Premier League. And then it felt like under Moyes, we just went for the wrong profile of striker. We brought in both Haller and Scamacca, who were more sort of target men, when we knew the success of Antonio was the fact that he could run the channels, the fact that we were a counter-attacking team and we could stretch teams. And it was so strange that we didn't buy a player that suited that profile. And then we obviously know Fulkrug has just not worked out because of injury records. And that's the other thing, isn't it? We tend to sign strikers with terrible injury records, which never helps. If you can't get a striker on the pitch, he definitely isn't going to score goals and be good for your team. So there's a few things going on there, but it does feel like just generally it's a bit of a curse now. So I can't wait for it to be lifted. Hopefully Evan Ferguson's the man.
Oh, mate. I mean, as I say, 65th time lucky, you never know. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? Considering, like you say, we've been through so many situations with strikers and you'd think now the pitfalls, we'd be very wary of them, and we don't ever seem to learn. Like you say, the injury records, I don't know whether we just don't bother looking at them. You know what I mean? That'd be all right. He's been fit. He's fit at the moment. He'd be fine. There's that situation. And like you say, the caliber of player, the style of football that we're bringing forward never seems to fit the mould. I mean, the fact we brought in Sebastian Haller, who, has gone on to done very well since leaving West Ham. Great striker, but just didn't fit West Ham's system. And then we literally went out and did the exact same problem again and brought in Scamacca, who is pretty much a carbon copy of the same player. It's a little bit bigger, etc. But ultimately, still a target man, like you say, not able to run the channels. And it's just infuriating. As you say, then you're watching Mikel Antonio week in, week out, and clearly playing the kind of system and style that we want to see. And yet we don't ever seem to go out and replace him. So I'll tell you what, though, I'm really excited to see Evan Ferguson, Tom. Although I'm really glad we didn't sign him permanently. I know people are upset we didn't get the option included in the deal, but you can understand why. Why would Brighton do that? Why would they put in? What if he came to West Ham and scored 10 goals now between now and the end of the season? They'd be thinking, God, we could have doubled our price on him. They're not going to commit to that. So they basically said to West Ham, well, you can have him now and you pay 50 million, or you get him on a loan. And we've just gone, we're not going to take the risk. So I'm really pleased about it. But the qualities he possesses, I'm really intrigued to see how he's going to play, because he's able to drop deep. He's got a great hold up play. He brings others in, and he's able to turn as well. He might not be the fastest player, but he can turn. He can hold his own, and he's not slow. And his shooting ability is quite stunning. Actually, probably one of the best in the Premier League. So I'm really excited, Tom. If we can keep him fit, this player, I think, could potentially, well, do us favours this season and get us to climb the table, hopefully get closer to that midpoint of the table and finish this campaign with a little bit of credibility. And obviously, it'd be great for Graham Potter. What your thoughts are in the summer for Ferguson? Are you leaning towards hoping West Ham, if he does well, West Ham to explore the option of bringing him in, or because of his injury record, what are your thoughts? Is it something you still want to kind of avoid?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's two things with that loan option. The fact that, first of all, it doesn't mean we can't go for him. It just means we don't have first refusal. So there is still the possibility that, like you say, he does well. And if he does do well, you would just think he's got some sort of affiliation with the club. He's obviously fond of Potter. So he might want to stay and sort of push through that move like we thought Jesse Lingard would. So there's that. But also the fact that there is no loan option, it does sort of force West Ham to start preparing for the summer and start getting these names, which we're obviously going to talk about in this video. So I kind of like that in a way. If we had the option, West Ham might be tempted to say, well, let's just see how Evan Ferguson does and then revisit it if he doesn't do well and we can start looking at other targets. We sort of have to look at other targets now because we know we don't have that option. In terms of Evan Ferguson, if he does well, I mean, it's all about how many times he's on the pitch for me. I don't really have any doubts about his quality. We spoke about it before. It's just how many minutes can he get on the pitch. If we are, able to get him on the pitch for 75, 80% of the games we've got left in the Premier League, I'd say sign him. As long as the fee's fine, you sign him because we know his quality. So even if he scores a handful of goals and you think, he would have thought he'd scored a few more, I'm not really worried about it because I think he's got the potential to turn into a top player. So it's all about the fee, isn't it? If it's, in the realms of 30, 40, even 50 million, do it. Anything more than that, then I'd definitely be looking at other targets as well. But let's hope he gets on the pitch and scores goals.
Yeah, I think it'll be something that bridge that we cross at the end of the season, as you say. If let's hope he does fantastically well, that'd be great. But the thing is, on the flip side of it, the price is going to skyrocket. That's the issue West Ham are going to face. I'm still very wary of him just because of his injury record. Even if he stays fit between now and the end of the season, let's say he scores 6 goals, which would be a good return between now and then. Of course, I'd be hoping West Ham hopefully be able to strike a deal, but knowing Brighton, they're no mugs, mate. You know what I mean? They're a well-oiled machine in terms of how they operate as a football club and their finances. They're not stupid. They know what the players they want. They know the managers they want next. They're very well-oiled, and hence why they were difficult in these negotiations because they were in their rights to be. So they won't make our lives easy. If he does well on loan and we want to keep him, Brighton aren't going to accept a lower fee for him. They're going to go for this. This is what they're doing. They're trying to bruise his price up. Ideally, I think for them to do well for them. But I think I get the impression there's probably a bit of an appetite there to sell him because they're obviously very aware of his injury records. We've got a couple of players we want to talk about in terms of West Ham being linked to in the summer. But I want to talk about this Eli Junior Krupi situation. But before I do, if you're new to the channel and you're not a subscriber, do subscribe. It takes 2 seconds to do so. It really does help us grow. And also, you may be someone that uses the channel quite a lot and views all our videos, but you don't realise you're not a subscriber. So if you could click subscribe, it does help us to grow, and hit that like button, please. Right, Krupi, Tom. This was a really weird scenario, and one that when we were reporting on it, it was quite confusing. West Ham, he's sort of a name that came a little bit late in the window, Krupi, from Lorient, second tier in the French Football League, and doing very well. He's got a great goal scoring record. He's only 18, young player, very highly rated. Now, when we went in for him, it was reported, I think Chelsea, Bournemouth and Brighton were the 3 clubs that were very keen on the player and were in talks with them, potentially making a move. West Ham were quite bullish in this, Tom, and they went forward basically and said, look, we want to get an agreement in place sooner rather than later. We weren't going to wait till the summer. We wanted to get it done. And I believe that we tabled a bid, I think a package of 35 million. So I think it was something like £20 million up front. And then I think the other monies would be basically based on appearances and goal return and all these kind of things over the course of the next few years. I think we were looking at a 5-year contract, something like that. West Ham were the front runners, Tom, in all of that. It was reported throughout. That was going from the very top sources. I'm not sure if Fabrizio Romano possibly not, but there was other sort of top ITKs out there, including obviously X was talking about it and saying the deal was done pretty much. That we were very confident. The player wanted the move, very keen on moving to London. It was all I reported, I talked about it on here, mate. You know, and I said I didn't report on it, but I talked about enough on it, and I just said, you know, I felt like it was going to happen, but it didn't. It didn't happen because bloody what's his name? Oh, he's off. Tom's gone. He's legged it. He's so upset with old Tom. You don't have to be that disappointed, mate.
Sorry, mate. My phone was going. I was getting a call, and it wasn't Croupy's agent, unfortunately.
Sorry, that's what it is. Yeah. No, it's fine. So Croupy then. The deal sort of it went from being 90% there, so you know, very confident it was going to be done, and all of a sudden it went from that to it wasn't going to happen. And we were told initially that the agent had said it's going to be in the summer, that we're not entertaining anything now, which I kind of understand as an agent perspective. You might think, I'll tell you what, why are we rushing? He's going to be a free agent in the summer. Let's wait until then, and then we can do a deal. And I think that was what everyone was hoping to. Yeah, well, West Ham were hoping to get it done sooner, but that was kind of the acceptance that there was a push from the agent to wait. And then all of a sudden, he rocks up at Bournemouth in a Bournemouth shirt, pretty much the next day, for £25 million less. This don't read right to me at all. And as far as we understand it, Tom, West Ham are looking at approaching UEFA over the situation to say, well, what's gone on here? What are your thoughts on all of this? Are you disappointed, first of all, we missed out on the player?
Yeah, massively disappointed. I was really excited when his name got linked with the club because I felt like he was it's the sort of avenue we wanted to go down. Obviously, the whole Duran incident last summer didn't work out, but a young striker who's up and coming, wanted by other clubs, that's what we want at West Ham. We want players that are going to come in and just get better and better. And we want to see Potter have the chance to improve players. And when you get players, younger players in, that's what he has the chance to do. So I was really excited. I was really disappointed when it sounded like you say, that the deal was pushed to the summer. But I thought, you know, maybe we'll still get him in the summer. I felt like it would be one of those things where he's like you said before, where his value skyrockets. There's more clubs interested, and it's a real fight to get him. But there was still that possibility. But then, obviously, the news about Bournemouth comes out, and you hear about the other links and rumours and things like that with agents and stuff. And that is really frustrating because it's hard enough getting a transfer over the line, as we've seen over the years with West Ham. It's hard enough buying a striker that is a good striker. So when you add into the mix the possibility of agents and sort of third-party agreements, and West Ham of all clubs know about third-party agreements with the whole Tevez situation a few years back. So it's really frustrating. It's really frustrating. It'll be very interesting to see what comes out of West Ham's sort of appeal or complaint. But yeah, really, really disappointing because I think, like I say, that's the avenue we want to go down. A young striker, plenty of promise, plenty of potential, pace, exciting. Yeah, that's the kind of striker we want at the football club, and it's a shame it didn't work out.
Yeah, I agree. I was really disappointed. I thought it was a player that I mean, obviously I'd never heard of before the window. I had no interest at all. I don't think many did, but looking into him and seeing his record, as you say, that kind of linked, he was clearly highly sought after. It does leave a bad taste in the mouth, considering West Ham have spent that fair amount of time trying to get that deal over the line. You know, Mark Noble, I think, was involved, and a few others. So it was a lot of work went into it. And it does feel like we've been shafted a little bit because is it Bill Foley, I think, that owns? He's got shares in both. He owns a company. I think it's called Black Knight. I think something like that. He owns. Got shares in. Obviously, he owns Bournemouth, but he also has got shares in Lorient. So it's a dodgy way of doing things. I don't like it. And we had something similar, didn't we, with when we got Todibo from Nice, that Manchester United couldn't get the deal done because of the conflict of interest of the club. So there was a real strictness to that. Like they couldn't proceed. They wanted to get the defender in, they couldn't because of that third party arrangement, like you say. And now we're now experiencing it. And I do feel West Ham needs to highlight. Don't get me wrong, I really like Bournemouth. I've got a lot of time for them as a football club. I think they're great. I love that they're doing well, and long may it continue, to be honest. It's just a joy to see them doing so well. But I don't like the way that's been carried out. It feels like we've been shafted, and it does appear that West Ham are going to possibly push, make it more formal in terms of a complaint, and hope they'll look into it, because it doesn't seem right to me. Let's be honest, if it had been the other way round, West Ham would have been done big time. You know what I mean? We've been there before, so I feel like it can't be one rule for one and one for other. So it'd be interesting to see how that one pans out. Let's talk about strikers that we're linked to then in the summer. I'm going to start with Mateta of Crystal Palace, Tom. I want to get your thoughts on him. I mean, brilliant season so far, Crystal Palace. I think he's on 13 goals in all competitions. Obviously, we're only really just past the midway point, so that's a pretty stunning return for him. He's 27 years old, 28 in June, so he's not that young, but one of those players. If West Ham were to bring him in, one, I think it'd be quite hefty in terms of the price because he's a ready-made striker, ready-made Premier League striker, hit the ground running. But you know what you're getting with him. What's your thoughts on Mateta? Someone you wouldn't mind seeing at West Ham?
I certainly wouldn't mind seeing him. Yeah, I mean, like you say, he's a ready-made striker, and maybe that's the easiest way to get out of this West Ham striker crisis: is sign someone that's played in the Premier League, scored goals at a similar sort of level, and has a good injury record. I think he's only had one sort of major injury, which was about 6 years ago. So he's definitely not got one of these injury records of what we've seen before. Like you say, he's having a really good season. Last season, I think he scored 19 goals in all competitions. So it's not just a purple patch. That was my first worry, is like, is this just a purple patch? But no, he did have a good season last season. And he's got the profile of what we want. Crystal Palace quite often play on the counter-attack under their manager. And he's got that physicality. He can hold defenders off. He can run the channel. And he can hit teams on the counter-attack with his sort of pace and athleticism. So I think it would be one of those where don't get me wrong, I don't think it would be the most exciting striker signing you've ever seen at West Ham. I don't think his ceiling would be particularly high. You wouldn't think that he could come in and just rip everything up. But you sort of know that he's going to be available. He's going to be able to run the channel. He's going to be able to play in a style that we are playing and we have played over the last few years. And he can score goals in the Premier League, and that's the most important thing. Obviously, we're going to talk about another striker who hasn't quite made it in the Premier League in terms of goals. He is doing that. He's scoring goals pretty much week in, week out at the moment. So I would think that's a sensible option. Again, it depends on the fee. But you're not going to get a striker who's ready-made, scoring goals for cheap. It's just not going to happen these days. And if he is cheap, there's a reason why. So I'm a fan. I wouldn't mind seeing him at the club in the summer. Yeah,
I'm with you on that. I think I like the fact that that's what you get with him. You get someone, you know what you get him. He knows the league. He's physical. You know what you get him with Mateta, and let's be honest, he's having a great season. I get the feeling, like you say, he's in terms of his purple patch and that. I'm conscious of the fact I don't want us to overpay for someone just because they've had a decent season, and also the fact that he's 28 this summer. That puts me off a little bit. I'm wary of keep going for players that are coming to the latter stages of their career. I'm not saying that 27, 28 are really actually prime years, really. So I'm not necessarily saying, well, that's it, he's done. But it would be nice to bring in someone a bit younger that we can grow and start to pick up the way we want to play. And then we can sort of mould them into the player we want them to be. I'm not saying I wouldn't want Mateta. I'm not saying he's not a bad option for us, but I get the feeling that if West Ham are to go in for him, Palace are going to have a huge price tag on his head. They don't want to lose him. He's a big player for them. But West Ham are certainly exploring it. I think West Ham are going to try and test the water. I get the impression the player possibly would fancy it. Maybe no disrespect to Crystal Palace, they've been all right, but we're a bigger club than them. It's a step up for him. It's staying in London as well, so he might fancy it. I think I'd get the impression that it's a deal that we could go and get done. It's just whether we can afford it. That's the problem. The amount of money they'd want when you're looking at probably 40, 50 million they're going to want around that kind of number because of the numbers of goals he scored this season. It's a lot of money, and considering the fact that we're not going to have the biggest of budgets, I can't see West Ham spending another 150 million in the summer. It's just I can't see that happening. I think we've got to be a little bit careful. Although, having said that, I do think Mohamed Kudus possibly will go this summer if we can get a decent fee agreed. Possibly a Saudi move might be the more likely with that one, which would open up doors for us a little bit. If we're able to get, say, 85, 90 million in, then it might give us a bit of flexibility. But I want to talk about the one I really want to talk to you about is Rasmus Højlund, obviously Manchester United, young player, 22, I think he is. Yeah, just turned 22. And he's, like you say, he's not been the most prolific, but that's really not probably down to him. He doesn't get many opportunities in terms of 90 minutes. He always tends to be coming off the bench. But he has scored 12 in 49 for Manchester United. It's not terrible. He's done well for Denmark, though, 7 in 22 appearances, which isn't bad. So he hasn't got a bad goal scoring record, but he's young, mate. He's young, and he's proven that he can handle it in the Premier League. What's your thoughts on Højlund?
I'm really split. Because, like you say, he's young. I think, again, he's athletic. He can hold players off, even at his age. He's got that pace about him. I think, again, profile-wise, I think he fits the mould. I think he fits the mould of what we're looking for. My concern is that he's at a very similar level right now. Manchester United and West Ham, obviously, a couple of places in it in terms of the league table. Playing at quite a similar level in terms of where we are in the Premier League. And he's struggling. He's struggling. Amorim doesn't fancy him to the point where he plays Kobe Mainoo up front a couple of days ago, which is a concern to me. There's something there that it's not clicking for him at Manchester United. Now, you rightly say that might not be him at all. Manchester United is a bit of a mess of a club at the moment. We know about all the issues there. But that is my concern. On the positive side, like I say, profile-wise, great. Age-wise, really good. And there's a reason Man United did pay all that money for him. He was a really exciting player at Atalanta, I should say. So I am really split with it. I've got to be honest, mate. I'm really split because I think Mateta, for example, isn't that gamble. You sort of, if you get him and if you do pay the money, you know he's going to score goals. With Højlund, if he comes in and he performs exactly the same way he does at Manchester United for us, you sort of turn around and go, well, we saw the signs. Well, why did we buy him? Like we saw him in the Premier League and he wasn't great. So I'm split. But what are your thoughts? I'm keen to get your thoughts on him.
I actually like Højlund. I've been quite impressed with him. I know what you're saying. It's difficult with Manchester United to gauge some of these players because over the years I've noticed, obviously, when we talk about West Ham, obviously Lingard being the sort of first one that stands out. Obviously, he was having a bit of a torrid time at Manchester United. He wasn't really getting much game time. There was, he clearly wasn't very happy. We got him on loan. I don't think many of us expected. All right, he was a decent enough player coming through the door, but I wasn't expecting much. I thought, he might be all right, he might grab a goal or two for us, but he was sensational. And all right, that was a bit of a one-off. That doesn't happen very often, but he kind of showed the quality that he's got. And then we've also got the experience with Aaron Wan-Bissaka this season, wasn't getting the love that Manchester United you felt. And again, I was a little bit unsure. I thought, okay, are we going to have one of these sort of has-been players coming through the door and they're on their way down and they're just sort of, picking up a nice pay slip every week and thinking, I'm going to run my career down now. There was also that suspicion with me with Wan-Bissaka, but I'll be honest, he's turned out to probably be my best, I think our best signing, certainly my favourite so far. I've been really, really happy with him. And so that kind of leads me into thinking that Manchester United are just a problem club. It's just a real toxic environment. And I wonder whether that's having that effect on Højlund, where he's one of those that when he comes away from there, he'll just, the weight will be off his shoulders and he can start flourishing. So I am open to it. And as I say, his goal record isn't too bad, considering that his lack of 90 minutes on the pitch. He's always sort of coming on and for short stints. I don't think he's done too bad. But so I'm slightly open to the idea. But again, much like we've got with Ferguson, I prefer a loan, maybe a season-long loan with an option there if we can do. And also, by the way, the Manchester United are a bloody nightmare to deal with. They are a flipping nightmare. Look at what we went through with Lingard. Was a nightmare. We desperately wanted to get him in and they just made our lives very difficult. We tried to get with Harry Maguire. They made our lives very difficult. They made their lives difficult with McTominay, and they're not an easy football club to deal with. So that would be a challenge for us anyway. Also, because I find with Manchester United, they put their players on these such high wages, these big contracts. It's very difficult to get them out of them because we're just never able to financially match it. So that will always be a challenge. But I'm not dismissing it. I think I would, as I say, be more open to a loan, but I like the fact West Ham are looking at this and West Ham are considering next season more and not just going, well, okay, we've got Evan Ferguson, we'll leave him as it is and then we'll try and get a deal done. And if he's good in the summer, we are also looking at other options. So it's good, mate. I think this isn't a bad time. I've got to say, mate, before we wrap this up, this isn't a bad time, is it, at West Ham? It's feeling like the mood's starting to lift. I think there's a bit of optimism. I don't know about you. I'm already looking forward to next season.
Yeah, you definitely think with a pre-season under Potter's belt that it does. Yeah, it's a reason to get excited. Even the players that we hopefully will have back for Brentford, you start looking at the squad now and you think, I'm fancying it. We've seen what Potter can do with, a small squad, loads of injuries to his team, and he's still producing performances at least. I thought we were really good on Monday night against Chelsea, and very unlucky to come away with nothing. So, yeah, I think he has brought that feel-good factor back to West Ham, which is what we wanted, what we desperately needed after Lopetegui. So, pre-season under his belt, a really good window, hopefully with Macaulay at the front of it, or Dan Ashworth, or Mark Noble, whoever, bringing in some really good young players, and I think the future will be bright for West Ham. It's I mean, we love getting optimistic, don't we? But yeah, we'll see. But I think the future's bright.
Yeah, me too. I'm feeling good about things. I need to say, I know we like to get a bit optimistic, but why not? Do you know what I mean? We've had bloody, we've been kicked enough times, and it's nice to actually look up and be a bit excited. I think we're in good hands, mate. I'm really looking forward to it, and it's going to be an interesting summer next year. I know we're already talking, we shouldn't be talking about summer. We've still got half a season to go yet, but it feels like already a Potter's pre-season for next season. It feels like he's already looking at it. And look, if we can climb up the table, like you said in the previous video, Tom, if we can just get a bit of that feel-good factor back at West Ham and see some good performances and give us something to be excited about for next season, that's great. And look, this is a good time, and I like the fact the West Ham are looking at a striker for the summer. It's something we've got to get right. And my word, Macaulay, the pressure's on, mate, because he can't afford to foul again, as we seem to do year after year. Pleasure as always, mate. And thanks for watching, everyone. We'll have another video soon. We'll do something, another catch up, possibly be at the tail end of the weekend or early next week. We'll do something and have a bit of a get together and talk about how wonderful West Ham are and how brilliant we're going to be next season. All right, cheers for watching, everyone.
Cheers, guys.